Headlines this hour. Now let's bring you this story. NATO leaders have begun their summit in Madrid just a day after Turkey agreed to support the membership of Finland and Sweden. Also ahead of the summit, President Joe Biden announcing that the United States will send reinforcements of NATO forces in Europe. He said NATO is needed more today than it has ever been. At the same time, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is reported to be saying that Russian President Vladimir Putin will be getting more NATO, not less. Let's discuss some of these key issues with our correspondent in London this hour, that's Chris Jones. Chris, a very good afternoon to you. Can we start off by asking, why has Turkey lifted its veto on Finland and Sweden joining NATO? I mean, they initially had opposed this. I wonder why. So what is this new agreement now between Turkey and NATO?
Well, let's go back to, Finland and Sweden both wanted to join the NATO alliance because of this massive threat that Russia now poses to Europe, but also globally. They wanted to ward off any approach militarily from Russia, but there was a massive obstacle in the way of joining the alliance, and that was, of course, Turkey. Turkey wanted, they said that they would veto Finland and Sweden joining the alliance because of their relaxed approach to what they describe as militant terrorist groups, referencing the PKK. Now, Finland and Sweden both denied that they had relaxed approaches to this, but wanted to talk with Turkey to come to some kind of agreement. And an agreement is what we've found over the past 24 hours or so. General Secretary of NATO Jens Stoltenberg announced on Tuesday evening that all three parties had come to an agreement, and as part of that agreement, Sweden says that it will intensify its work on Turkish extradition requests of suspected terrorist fighters, and both countries say that they will lift their embargo on selling weapons to Turkey. This, Mr. Stoltenberg says, is a great deal and an historic moment for NATO and a really big deal for Finland and Sweden, and really paves the way for them now to join the alliance.
Okay, so what does it all mean now for NATO? I mean, we're hearing statements like from President Joe Biden saying there's going to be more reinforcements. We're hearing getting more NATO. That's a message to Russia by Boris Johnson.
Well, that's right. It's going to bring greater security to Europe. It will bring greater reinforcements from Finland and Sweden, bolstering NATO's military capabilities. It will also provide greater funding for training and exercises across the east, which NATO says it's going to send more troops to. It says it wants to send to really increase its rapid response unit from 40,000 to 300,000. That's just how much of a threat NATO sees Russia at the moment. But also importantly, this will extend the border between NATO and Russia. Of course, Finland sharing a border with Finland of about 1.3 thousand kilometres. And this is exactly what Vladimir Putin wanted to avoid when he first decided to invade Ukraine. And of course, the Kremlin are seeing this admission of Finland and Sweden as a huge threat. In fact, not too long ago, Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov said that the expansion of the alliance is a purely destabilizing factor. Now, Russia, at the very start of when Finland and Sweden said they were going to join or wanted to join NATO, Russia said there would be consequences. They still withhold that threat, I guess you can call it, but what those consequences are going to be still very much remains to be seen.
Okay, now it's the first full day today in Madrid of the NATO summit. I mean, we know that Russia-Ukraine war will be very much top of the agenda, just like the G7 summit the other day, which just ended in Bavaria in Germany yesterday. Besides that, I mean, what other issues are there? Is NATO going to be using this summit to plot its vision for the coming years?
Well, there's going to be a lot of topics covered in these meetings. We've already heard about climate change, for example, which is one of NATO's real big goals. Jens Stoltenberg spoke yesterday about moving the militaries of alliance members towards net zero by 2050 and to reduce emissions by 45% by 2030. And this really ties into what Stoltenberg really spoke about yesterday. He said that he believed in free trade still, but that countries in the alliance shouldn't rely on single nations for some commodities, referencing much of Europe's dependence on Russian energy, for example. And this move towards net zero and to reduce emissions and towards electricity will hopefully move some way towards defunding Vladimir Putin and his war machine, as it's mentioned. We'll also have discussions about cyber security and trade, and also relationships with the Indo-Pacific as well. But if anything, this summit has one clear message, which Jens Stoltenberg said not too long ago, and that's that Ukraine can really rely on NATO for as long as it takes.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris, for that latest update about what's coming out of NATO. Let's bring you